The paper shook slightly between my fingers as a man in the dark suit spoke in a voice so measured it felt mechanical. Your uncle left you his entire estate, $65 million. For a moment, I thought he was joking. The word seemed to belong to someone else, not me. A man wearing the same coat he'd slept in for 3 nights, hands still rough with grime. $65 million. From the uncle I hadn't spoken to in 2 decades. The same man my ex-wife used to call deadweight family, right before she tossed my belongings out on the lawn for the neighbors to see. The lawyer's gaze didn't waver as he handed me the documents. You'll need to sign these today. His voice was steady, but there was something behind it, a tightness around the jaw, a flicker in his eyes, before he added, Your uncle wanted you to have it, but only after you finish what he started. He turned and left without another word. The door of the limousine closed with a dull, final sound, like the lid of a coffin. That night, I slept in a shelter bed for the last time. The documents stayed folded under my pillow. I didn't read them immediately. I wasn't ready. I lay awake thinking about her, Emily, the woman who once swore I was her anchor, then sat in court smiling while her lawyer recited every failure of my life. I still hear her voice sometimes. You'll die broke and alone. She said it softly, almost like a blessing. When I finally unfolded the papers, my throat tightened. Alongside the legal documents were photographs, bank statements, and a handwritten note in my uncle's familiar, uneven script. John, the woman you married isn't who you think. She and her partner took everything from me, and from you. The word partner hit like a blade. He listed dates, transfers, and names. One stood out immediately. Richard Dane, her lawyer. I didn't confront her. Not yet. People say too much when they're cornered. I took the small advance the attorney had given me, rented a small room, and began to dig. A place with a real lock, a shower, a bed. It felt almost like life again. Emails called logs, property records. It all painted a picture. She had sold our house just months after the divorce for nearly double its worth, but the buyer wasn't a stranger. It was a shell company tied to Dane's firm. Every transaction led back to her. She hadn't divorced me. She dismantled me. Every lost asset, every debt, every account she froze. It all funneled into her new world. One evening I saw her, from a distance, dressed in luxury, wearing that same practiced smile. Dane walked beside her, his hand on her back as if she were a prize he'd earned. They laughed, and I realized I had never truly seen her until that moment. Weeks later, another envelope arrived, the sealed portion of my uncle's will, released after legal review. Inside was his notarized testament and a small voice recording. I pressed play. His voice was frail but steady. Emily and Dane tricked me. They forged papers, emptied my accounts. When I confronted them, they threatened to expose your past, to ruin you completely. I'm leaving what's left to you, John. Finish what I couldn't. Make them answer. I sat there in silence long after the message ended. No anger, no tears, just clarity. The next morning, I mailed a copy of the recording to Emily's office. No note, no message, just the truth. 3 days later, my phone rang. John, we need to talk, she said, her voice trembling. I said nothing. The silence stretched until she spoke again, desperate. Please, can we meet? Tomorrow, I replied quietly. We met at a cafe downtown, the same one where we'd signed the divorce papers. It felt fitting. She walked in first, pale and hollow beneath her designer veneer. Dane followed, eyes darting, skin ashen. I slid a small flash drive across the table. That's the recording. It's all ready with my uncle's estate attorney. Her face fell. John, please. You drained his life, I interrupted softly. And mine. You called me worthless. You said I'd die broken alone. Her hand trembled as she reached for mine. I made a mistake. No, I whispered. You made a choice. Dane's composure cracked. He knew what was coming. Disbarment, investigation, maybe prison. I stood, calm and steady. You always wanted everything. I said, now you have each other, just not freedom. Then I walked away. A limousine waited outside. My limousine. I sank into back seat, watching the city drift by in shades of gray. Money doesn't mend what's broken. It only silences the noise around it. The quiet that followed was different this time. Clean. Final. I thought of my uncle, of the years I'd lost, of the voice that once told me I'd die alone. Maybe she was right about that. But I wouldn't die broke. And I wouldn't die forgotten. As the car moved forward, I closed my eyes and let the lights flicker across the glass. She wanted me destroyed. Instead, she forged a version of me that couldn't be broken. I wasn't the victim, just the patient one.